video recorded of y'all hearing that she lied on me.
It's always harder for famous people to keep their lives private. It's like social media controls every step they take, and they are always under the microscope, having all their life decisions displayed to a large audience. Being an NBA player star comes with a lot of pressure, and the reality is, not every player has a pure background or a clean slate. Any kind of mistake they make can affect their careers. Some have even gone to jail at some point in their lives. Here are some of the NBA players who you might not have known had been to jail. Before we dive into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. The first player on our list is J.R. Smith. Smith has been a famous basketball player for over a decade, and he's really good at what he does. This player is known for his bad habit of speeding while driving. It has caused him trouble many times throughout his lifetime, but there was one accident that stained his life forever. In 2007, he was driving at night with a couple of his friends. As usual, he felt the need to speed. Unfortunately, he was driving very fast in a very busy area. One thing led to another, and there was a car crash. Even though Smith was the one driving, he only got out with a minor shoulder injury. However, one of his best friends, 21-year-old Andrew Bell, couldn't make it. He passed away as soon as he was brought to the hospital. Any other person would have gotten at least 10 years of prison because of a crime like this. But as by that time, 23-year-old Smith was a worldwide famous basketball player. It could have been the end of his career. What's more, with his money, he could hire the best lawyer America could offer. So he got out of this situation with 90 days of prison, 500 community service hours, and 2 years suspension of his license. This accident definitely left an unhealing scar in the player, and no amount of success will ever cover it up for him. Next on our list is Sebastian Telfair. Telfair became an official member of the NBA in 2004. Having been a very skillful player, his future seemed very promising. He was accepted to the league straight after his high-profile high school years. Now, the ex-NBA player's career is nowhere where it once was, as the athlete destroyed his profession with his reckless criminal history. At one point, not even his famous reputation could save him from prison. Telfair has a long history of weapons-related incidents. The first time in his early NBA career, he was caught at an airport carrying a loaded weapon in his luggage, reportedly in a pillowcase that belonged to him. He claimed it was his girlfriend's, which at the time turned out to be true, so he more or less got out of this situation without charges. But in 2007, his car was stopped by the police for exceeding the speed limit, and you'll be shocked to find out what he carried in his back seat. It was a gun, and not legally signed neither to him nor his girlfriend, so this time there was no one to blame but him. Shortly after, he pleaded guilty for his recklessness and was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, which basically also meant the end of his basketball career. "I kind of ruined my career with that," Telfair says. "It was a bad move all around, but I don't beat myself up about it too much." Next up on our list comes Allen Iverson. Iverson, nicknamed The Answer, has been a professional NBA player for about 15 years. Having brought many championships to his team, he has always been very skilled, and in his high school years, he was a star on both the football and basketball teams. So as you see, he was quite an athlete. Despite that, he has been criticized many times throughout his career. Haters would say that he's a criminal who does not know how to play on a team, calling him a me-first guy. However, his supporters don't hesitate to bring up his rough upbringing, all of the things he had to go through as a child, living with a poor family in a racist, unfriendly neighborhood, and despite all that, still managing to succeed in his career. Whoever side we pick, it's still a fact that Iverson has a criminal past. On February 14, 1993, at a bowling alley, Iverson with his group of friends got in a fight with a large group of white men. Nobody really knows what happened there, but Iverson was accused of supposedly hitting a white woman over the head with a chair, making her lose consciousness. Although Iverson denied the accusation, he was still sentenced to 15 years in prison. The player ended up serving only 4 months and was let out due to the lack of evidence in court. To this day, he maintains complete innocence and denies ever hitting a woman with a chair. Next, let us talk about an ex-NBA player named Keon Clark. Clark has played during 6 professional seasons from 1998 to 2004. He was a respected team member through his career. However, after he left the NBA, he faced multiple charges, including possession of weed and illegal weapons. He was also known to be addicted to alcohol and would drink and drive exceeding speed limits on multiple occasions. "I never played a game sober, unfortunately." Clark also said he was drinking a half pint to a pint of gin when he was playing pro basketball. He has been dealing with his personal issues throughout his whole life. But after his career ended, it just became harder to deal with, and in 2013, he was sentenced to 8 years of prison, where he still resides today. According to McGee, he faced weapons, drugs, and driving-related charges stemming from one 2012 case and 4 2013 cases. He was quoted saying, "I did a lot of stuff in my past. I have to own up to it." The following player on our list is Billy Ray Bates. Bates became an NBA star in the 80s. He was a skilled player, many times driving his team to success. Despite that, his NBA career did not last as long as he had expected. He was more of a shooting star rather than a rising star. He was a meteor streaking across the Blazers' sky, Thompson said. He had as much talent as Clyde Drexler. He just didn't have the longevity. He retired in 1988, and everything in his life went downhill after that. Once a basketball superstar, even receiving the nickname of Black Superman, he later found himself in jail, being sentenced to 7 years. Not long after his retirement, he was caught robbing a gas station, where he used a knife to cut the attendant's ear. At court, he pleaded guilty and was charged for first-degree aggravated assault and second-degree assault. Bates ended up serving only 5 years and has been out of prison since 2008. Our next player is Eddie Johnson Jr. Eddie Johnson was a professional NBA player who played 10 seasons, from 1977 to 1987. He was built like a linebacker and was as fast as they came with the ball in his hands, putting it on the floor, attacking someone off the dribble, said Mike Fratello, the coach of the Hawks. Johnson was even nicknamed Fast Eddie because his first stem in the beginning of the game was so explosive. Needless to say, he was a very successful player, but unfortunately, he was dealing with his own demons throughout his whole life. He started using cocaine in college and kept abusing it even during his NBA career. He also suffered from bipolar disorder and was hospitalized twice for his manic episodes. Despite all the charges about the drug abuse, Johnson would never admit it. In 1981, in an interview with Sports Illustrated, he said, "I partied a little extensively, but I wasn't abusing it. The whole idea of me abusing drugs is outlandish." After violating the NBA's anti-drug agreement so many times, he was banned from the league in 1987. His most serious crime he committed in 2006. It was an action that stained his whole past career and made fans lose any respect towards him. He sexually assaulted an 8-year-old girl, after which he was convicted of sexual battery and molestation and was sentenced to life imprisonment. He died in jail at 65. Next on the list is Charles Smith. Smith was a Boston Celtics guard whose NBA career lasted from 1988 to 1997. The talented player had a long history of alcohol abuse and was caught many times drunk driving. Unfortunately, as it usually happens, his reckless behavior drove him to very sad consequences. In 1991, when Smith was driving a van truck, he accidentally struck 2 female university students in Boston near the campus. According to witnesses, the blue truck hit 2 girls near the crosswalk, then spun 360 degrees, made a U-turn, and left the scene. So basically, it was a hit-and-run situation. He pleaded guilty in court and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, but was released after 4 months on $100,000 of personal recognizance. This is not a story about the Boston Celtics or Boston University. Boston University President John Silber said, "Rather, it's a story of lives lost and dreams extinguished by reckless driving. A story that is repeated with horrifying regularity on the streets of Boston and across America." On this note, we end our video. These were just some examples of NBA players who went to jail. There are many more. We would like to know your opinion about the video, what you thought about the players, and whose story you found most interesting, and which player you think should have gotten onto the list. Do not hesitate to leave a comment down below, and press the like button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.